Merry Christmas. Yes, we celebrate. We continue the celebration this Christmas season that Jesus has come. Jesus come to us in flesh. He tabernacled among us, as the Gospel of John tells us. And it's through this incarnation where God became man, where he identified with each human being in a special way. And he saved us through his passion, death, and resurrection. Salvation was set in the midst of a family. And it's throughout a family that the saving work of God was given to us. During his 1985 State of the Union address, the newly re-elected President Ronald Reagan proclaimed that as the family goes, so does our civilization. It would probably be a fair question then to turn around and say, well, looking at our civilization, how goes the family? Well, there are some stellar examples among us, but I don't know about you, but I grew up in a quite dysfunctional family in a lot of different ways. Not major dysfunctions, but dysfunctional. We look around today and we see many, many people wounded. Divorce, young people electing for cohabitation instead of marriage, and some trying to even redefine what marriage and consequently the family would be. Shows like Modern Family reinvent different things here and there. Well, healthy families come from healthy marriages, and healthy marriages require healthy husbands and wives. And truly healthy men and women are those who have surrendered their lives to Christ and are living a life of faith, love, and virtue in holiness. The Holy Family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph that we celebrate today is the model, the ideal family. Now, you might ask the question, what makes that family holy? Well, it doesn't hurt to have the Son of God. That's pretty good. And Blessed Virgin Mary, conceived immaculately. That's a good start. And then we have a faithful, righteous man, Joseph, who serves God and protects his wife and family. Yes, the Holy Family is indeed holy. And it's because of two words, I think: surrender and gift. Surrender. This is a concept that I picked up from Bishop Robert Barron in one of his homilies on the Holy Family. And so that was kind of a starting point toward the way this thing was going to unfold. Surrender. Each of the family members had to, and they chose to, surrender themselves, abandon themselves to the will of God the Father. In the letter to the Galatians, St. Paul says that God sent his Son. In that God sent his Son, that implies that Jesus received, Jesus accepted that call, that divine temporal mission to come to this earth, to be born of human flesh, take on humanity, and to suffer, die for us, for our salvation. The words of St. Paul again in the letter to the Philippians read, Jesus emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even death on a cross. Surrender. In the poem, the beautiful poem by St. John of the Cross titled The Incarnation, he expands the imagination of that dialogue between the Father and the Son. And the Son speaks to the Father, I will go and tell the world, spreading the word of your beauty and sweetness and of your sovereignty. I will go to seek my bride and take upon myself her weariness and labors in which she suffers so. And that she may have life, I will die for her. And lifting her out of that deep, I will restore her to you. Moving to Mary, the Blessed Mother, the Blessed Virgin Mary. When the angel Gabriel came to her, what did she respond? Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. May it be done to me according to your word. Surrender to the will of God. The Venerable Bede has a reflection on this response of Mary, and imagining the deeper feelings and expressions of her heart she could easily have been said this: as I contemplate his greatness, which knows no limits, I joyfully surrender my whole life, my senses, my judgment, for my spirit rejoices in the eternal Godhead, that Jesus, that Savior, whom I have conceived in this world of time. And let's not forget Joseph. We turn to the narrative of Matthew's gospel to get an insight to Joseph. And there we find that Joseph was a righteous man. He was a holy man that followed God. And when he took Mary and found that she was with child, he, being a respectful man, decided that I should divorce her and not marry her. But the angel in the dream came to him and said, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife. And he did what the angel commanded. Again, the angel of the Lord comes and said, rise, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt. Protect her, Joseph. And he did. He rose and took her to Egypt and the child. The angel of the Lord again comes to him and said, rise, take the child and his mother and go to the land of Israel. Herod is gone. The coast is clear. Take them back to Israel. Surrender to the will of God. The second word, gift. The Holy Family is holy because of gift. Two fundamental trajectories in our life. And I've seen this work out, and I think you probably have seen it too. There are those that live this life, like the old beer commercial goes, you only go around once and you got to grab all the gusto you can get. And so we think that we're going to go out and we're going to fill our lives with stuff, with popularity, with fame, with fortune, and we think we're going to create a healthy or a happy life by gaining all these things, acquiring these things. A life of acquisition. There are those, though, that do that, and I think, honestly, I know some that they're the most unhappy people I know. They really are not happy. And it's kind of like the J.D. Rockefeller question, that when the wealthiest man in the world back in the 19th century, the oil baron, was asked, how much money is enough? And he said, a little more. You're never going to get there. You can't get there by acquiring. It's always a little more. It's those who make their life a gift that are the happiest and most content people on the planet. St. John Paul II spoke of this in terms of what he called the law of gift. The law of gift. And he said this: we are most fully alive and human when we give away freely and sacrificially our very selves in love for one another. In other words, your being flourishes and it increases in the very measure that you give it away. Paradox. And it's rooted in the very words, the clear words of Jesus, where he said, "Greater love than this no one has than to give one's life for one's friends." The sure path to joy and human flourishing is giving, for sure. The law of gift. What great example we have today in our first reading in Samuel. And to appreciate this, we see Hannah here in the reading today giving her son Samuel to the temple in service to Eli, the priest. But that's generous, obviously, but it doesn't really tell the full story of how much this really meant. We have to go back from the beginning of that first chapter and understand that Elkanah had two wives, Hannah and Peninnah. And they regularly, year after year, made pilgrimage to Shiloh to make sacrifices to the Lord. Peninnah had children, but Hannah was barren. And the text emphasizes year after year, Peninnah would provoke her cruelly, and Hannah would weep to the point where she would refuse to even eat. She was broken, hurting, wounded, childless. And in her bitterness and weeping, Hannah prayed to the Lord and vowed, "If you give your handmaid a male child, I will take him home and I'll make sure he has the best comfortable life that any little child could ever have." No, he did not. She did not say that. What she said was, "If you give your handmaid a male child, I will give him to the Lord." And so Samuel was born, and after he was weaned, Hannah did just that. She gave her only son to the Lord. The law of gift. Some years ago, a very close friend of mine, best friend, along with his wife and their 6 children, traveled from Michigan to Cincentún, that's the way you pronounce it, it's a little tricky, Cincentún, Mexico, which is located, it's a small little town of about 8,000 people. It's located in the northern part of the Yucatan Peninsula. And the native people are of Mayan descent, and they make their living from the land. Most all are poor, very poor. Our friends had gone there to prepare for ministry in Costa Rica, and they had an accelerated Spanish language program, and they lived in close quarters with a host family in the small town, which provided an acclimation to Central American culture. When their stay had come to an end, the host family prepared a special last meal in honor of the family. Most diets in this poor area consist of beans, corn, tortilla, and some fresh vegetables, perhaps. But for this occasion, they slaughtered and prepared their one and only egg-bearing chicken for their guests' dinner. My friend said he was so choked up, he could barely take a bite. So choked up. The law of gift. We look at our families today, we look at our tradition, our scriptures. We look at St. Paul's model of the relationship of the family members in Ephesians 5, that famous chapter. Everybody gets all bent out of shape and they don't feel like they can preach on submission anymore. Women submitting, I mean, oh my goodness. We're living in the 21st century. I mean, that's old. No, that's not the way it should be seen. I'll tell you, the way it should be seen is like this. The man, the father, and the husband is called to lay down his absolute life for the will and good of his wife, just like Jesus did for us. That's what the man is required to do, the husband. And the wife, I don't know many women that would mind submitting to a man that would do everything in his power to make you first, above himself. That is a true partnership of equality, of mutual submission to one another, to God's will for the family. And out of that union come beautiful children that honor, respect their parents. The ideal family? Yes, it's an ideal. But imagine our lives, our marriages and families, living a life of surrender and gift, hope for the healing of our broken world. God bless you.